Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. Hope you're having a great day. We're going to be going to my friend Rob Sigler here in just a second. Rob works with Cruisin the Coast, but he has a long history in Mississippi media. We'll remind you about what his roles have been over many years. I always enjoy having Rob because we get off into a bunch of different areas of conversation, current events, what's going on with media these days. We'll also get an update about Cruisin the Coast, which is literally a year-long activity for that team that puts that incredibly important event on each year. Hey, just a quick moment. I want to say something I mentioned last week. I was weekend before last. I had the opportunity to go to dinner with some friends of mine. These are actually former high school friends, and my friend Terry Waldrop hosted them. And Roy Anderson and Farrell Allman and Riley Morris and Mac Harper, and I mean, it was terrific. And, two or three others, we just got together and just chatted. And one of the things we talked about was when family members or friends come in from the outside and they take a ride down, let's just pick Gulfport, for example, but there's one of these in every community, incidentally, which is the reason I'm bringing it up. If you go down Pass Road, like say, let's pick a section of Pass Road. Let's say from Washington Avenue, which is, coming out of Bellevue, hit Pass Road, right there where Cajuns is located in that basic area. And let's go west all the way to 25th Avenue. During that stretch, I think what happens is we drive down it and we get used to it and we don't pay much attention to it. But when somebody comes in from out of town, a family member, a friend, they ride down it and they're from Gulfport, and then it hits them. It always hits them. Now, there's a Pass Road stretch that I just mentioned probably in every city, in Pascagoula and Biloxi and Bay St. Louis, you name the city. But what the point is that we drive down these sections and they're out of sight, out of mind to us because we get used to them. And one of the points that I made last week was during the Mississippi Renewal Forum, 5 weeks after Hurricane Katrina, the architects and planners that came down here and took that ride down Pass Road, for example, they said, what you see here is the accumulation of not having good building codes in place or good zoning requirements in place. The overhead, cables for the power company, kind of intrusive. And they made a lot of observations. And what they said was, now's the time to fix that. And I remember so well, Brent Warr really tried, the mayor of Gulfport at the time, started to talk about lots of different approaches. Smart code was one of them. But there could have been a take of smart code that we could have done instead of just full out trying to put that into place. But at the end of the day, we didn't. And so here we are 20 years later, and we drive that stretch, and it's basically the same stretch, and in some cases looks even worse. So what can we do? I mean, what can a new mayor do? What can a new city council, or what can the city council do in Gulfport to begin to raise the bar on a place like that stretch of Pass Road? It was a question that was raised during this dinner that I think is a great question. And again, there are these stretches that I'm talking about in every city. And what I want you to do, I want you to go to the SuperTalk Facebook page, SuperTalk Gulf Coast Facebook page, and just send a message and, say it's for me. And tell me a stretch in your city that you want me to think about and talk about on the show. I think we need to have more pride in ourselves. This is an opportunity. You fix it now, or you put the right thing in place now. We won't be 20 years from now looking back saying, gosh, I wish we'd have done that. We can start putting some things in place now that 20 years from now, it can make a difference. This is legacy building stuff. And again, I think it's a really, really important question. And we should work harder to raise the bar. We should not put areas of our cities in scenarios where us as citizens just ride through and get to where we don't notice anymore. That's not good. We ought to ride through and say, good Lord, this is amazing what has happened. It makes you feel good to live here. That's what you want people to feel. That's certainly what you feel when you go down Highway 90. I can assure you that. So anyway, just food for thought. Now let's move over to my friend Rob Sigler. He's here in coastal Mississippi and works, as I mentioned, for Cruisin the Coast. And he's got a long history in print journalism in Mississippi in places like Picayune and Meridian and Laurel and Oxford and Vicksburg. He's got kind of a statewide perspective on a lot of stuff. Without any further ado, let me welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show, my friend Rob. How you doing, Rob?
I'm good, buddy. How are you? Thanks for having me.
It's good. It's good. It's good to have you. Listen, you heard what I was talking about, but in every city, I'm sure, because I just mentioned the cities you've had your career in as a print journalist over 30 years. Every city struggles with that, don't they? Trying to, beautification and zoning. And I mean, success we found after Katrina, boy, it's in some nerdy details and really detailed zoning and coding requirements in a city. That's how you build excellence into a city. But every city struggles with that, don't they?
Absolutely. Every city that I've ever worked in or lived in has had that same issue of how they want to attract more people to come to their city, to come downtown. A lot of communities that I've worked in and lived in are making a difference in making their communities more beautiful. A lot of the Main Street programs do a tremendous job, and it seems like every city that I've lived in Mississippi has a Main Street program, and their efforts are really starting to pay off, especially in places like Picayune, for example. Reba Beebe over there in Picayune does a tremendous job with their Main Street program, and the same thing in Laurel. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the hometown and Aaron and Ben Napier and all of that. They actually got started in downtown with program with Main Street, and kind of spun off with beautifying their city and making downtown more enjoyable and more attractive, not only for people to come to visit, but also the people that live there and work there and have their own businesses there.
Yeah, you can, man. I agree with you. You can, Madison. What Madison has done over many years, Madison said one of the things that Andreas Duani said after Hurricane Katrina. I really got close to Andreas, famed architect. He's the father of New Urbanism. New Urbanism is about creating walkable communities. But he led a group of over 100 architects and planners, and I really, from around the world, the Prince of Wales Foundation was even represented in this group. He had tremendous connections with people, and they came here, and over a 2-week period, we talked about what's the possibility and what are some of the things we need to be thinking about as we rebuild coastal Mississippi. But one of the things he said that he saw in us, he said, we were just happy to get a Walmart instead of saying, okay, we want a Walmart, but if you bring it here, it's got to be designed in a way that fits coastal Mississippi. He said we were missing that step, that we had such an inferiority complex that we were just happy to get it. Now, when Madison got their Walmart, they said, okay, we're glad to have you, but here's how you're gonna build it in a way that fits better with our community. There's these great stories all across Mississippi. But let me take it to Gulfport specifically. There's great examples of how we already know how to do this. So one of the things that Andreas did when he drove down 25th Avenue and came to the intersection of 25th and Highway 90 after Hurricane Katrina, of course, it was nothing but devastation. We all know that. It was a really tough scenario. But he looked south, and what he could see is, I often said this about people like Andreas, that he could get his head above the debris and see it for what it is, and that's the beauty of that intersection, which he called the crown jewel of entrance into coastal Mississippi, where 25th Avenue meets Highway 90. And he said, this is where you guys need to embrace this. This is the entrance into the Gulf Coast, and your rebuilding effort. Make this the best that it can be. And what did Gulfport do? Gulfport went forward with one of the largest facade programs in the history of the United States. And Main Street programs are extraordinarily proud of what Gulfport did, the way that they had created these grants for businesses and business owners to go in and redo their facades. And so all of downtown is part of that massive facade program. And then if you go south, then you start to look at what we did with Jones Park and bringing meaning to that, and what we did at the Small Craft Harbor as we rebuilt it and creating the Barksdale Pavilion. Jim Barksdale, who led the Governor's Commission, that got to know him extremely well, gave $1 million to the Governor's Commission. The Knight Foundation, I was chairman of the Knight Foundation at the time, we gave $1 million to the rebuilding effort. And with the $2 million, we ran the Governor's Commission. But then he gave another $1 million, I think it was $1 million, or maybe it was 500, but anyway, a lot of money to help build the Barksdale Pavilion. we have proven that we know how to do big projects that send the right message. And I give Brent War a lot of credit for that. George Schlogel, who came in, who really understood beautification and all of that. Well, we just need to let it. We need to take the core learnings from that downtown effort, from that intersection effort, from the Jones Park effort, from all of this evolving around the aquarium, and bring that to other parts of the city, like Pass Christian. But like Pass Road. I didn't mean Pass Christian, but certainly this applies to Pass Christian as well. Listen, we're having a conversation with Rob Sigler. When we get back on the other side, we'll continue this part of the conversation, and we'll also find out the latest on Cruisin the Coast, and we got a lot of other things to talk about as well. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. We're visiting with Rob Sigler. He's a former journalist. In fact, you're not a former journalist. Once a journalist, always a journalist, like I say about drumming when I'm with my friend Steve Azar. Once a drummer, always a drummer. But Rob is with Cruisin the Coast, and we'll get to that here in just a second. But we're just generally talking about beautification in cities and why that's so important. Rob, you heard what I was saying about downtown Gulfport and how, we already have jewels of positive moves toward beautification in ways that are, we've got national attention for it. I wonder why we can't get that same kind of thought going in a place like that stretch of Pass Road that we mentioned. And by the way, just one last reminder that if you have a stretch in your city that you want to bring to our attention, please send me a note. Go to the Facebook page for SuperTalk Mississippi or SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast and just send a message and we'll get it. And we'll try to get the C-Spire text line working for this show as well, so we can get this information more quickly without having you go to a Facebook page. But Rob, what do you have to say to all that?
Yeah, you're exactly right, Ricky. That section of Pass Road I'm very familiar with. My family moved back to Mississippi in 1978. And that section of Pass Road still looks the same as it did back in the late 70s and has changed very little over the years. And makes you wonder why that section of Pass Road and that area of Gulfport has kind of remained the same and hasn't benefited from some of the other projects that, like, say, downtown Gulfport, south of the railroad tracks in particular, has benefited a lot more. I think it would be tremendous because there's a lot of traffic coming down Highway 49 headed to the Gulf, and they have to pass right through that area on their way. Visitors coming to our Gulf Coast, to Gulfport, pass through that area of Gulfport all the time. 6 lanes of traffic down through there, and in order to get to the Gulf, you got to go through that area. And it would be nice if they saw something that would make them want to maybe go visit that area. There's a lot of great things on Pass Road. The train museum that's there. People go there all the time. I went there just recently for the first time, and I was very impressed with what they've done there. But to get there, you've got to go, like you say, through a section of Gulfport that is not as attractive as other areas of the Gulf Coast and Gulfport.
Yeah, what the Mueller brothers created in that train museum is incredible. It's one of the most unique museums like it in the world. Okay.
Yeah.
But, that's a good point, Rob, because the train museum really does bring a lot more people to that area. And they're keeping track of the people who, where do they come from when they visit there? And they're visiting there from all over the United States and some from foreign countries. And we've got to just raise the bar. This would be a good issue for the new mayor of Gulfport to really think about, and for the city council to think about. No one's done anything wrong, but I just think that we ought to start looking at it from the point of view, as this friend of mine pointed out over dinner. When a family member comes in who hasn't been here in a while and they drive down it, or someone's visiting who's been here before, they have a clearer-eyed view of it, and they don't like what they see, and they wonder why we have such a small opinion of ourselves, and that's not good. We need to fix that, and there's real opportunities for us to do it. Last word, Rob, before we shift gears.
Yeah, you're right, Ricky. There's a lot to be done in that area of Gulfport that really could benefit all the people. And like you say, they haven't done anything wrong. I just think that they could probably do it better and make it more attractive for visitors and also the people who live and work in that area of Gulfport. So hopefully,
yeah, don't want to pick on. Yeah, yeah, I want to just make sure that you hear this. The specific discussion over dinner that night was that stretch of Pass Road, but every community's got one of those. Biloxi's got one. Pascagoula has got one. Moss Point's got one. Ocean Springs has one. We all, there's one everywhere. And, we have to have a broader vision about what we want to see our city accomplish. And, these high traveled areas, sometimes we just zoom through them, and we don't think about the kind of things we could be doing. It could be generational. If we make the changes now, it could be generational. You can grandfather in properties and whatever, but as they start to turn over, you have new expectations for what's going to happen. Rob, before we get into the world events and maybe Mississippi events, what's the latest at Cruisin the Coast? You guys are working 24 hours a day still, aren't you?
It feels like it at times, Ricky. We're working on our 29th Cruisin the Coast that's coming up in October. It's hard to believe it's going to be 29 years that we launched this, and we've been working very hard. Craig Risoli and Woody Bailey, our executive director, and myself have been on top of the game, and the registrations are rolling in. We've got right around 3,600 registered vehicles so far for 2025, and that's right around on the same number that we had a year ago at this time. So we're right on pace for having another 9,000 to 10,000 vehicles down here on the coast registered for Cruisin the Coast. I actually just got back from Tennessee this past weekend, spent the week up there selling raffle tickets for our 2025 raffle vehicle, which we named Cowboy. It's a 1972 Cheyenne pickup truck. And we brought 1,500 tickets up there, Ricky, and we sold out on day 3 of that event and had no more tickets to sell, and had to tell people to go to our website if they wanted to buy more tickets. So we've been hard at it, and before you know it, it'll be October. And one other thing, you spoke about Jones Park. Cruise Central is moving to Jones Park this year, back where it all started in 1996. So we're looking forward to doing that, making that move from Centennial Plaza to Jones Park, and registration will be right there underneath that Barksdale Pavilion that you spoke about. So we're making plans, a lot of logistics involved, and a lot of information will be coming out over the next few months about what's going to be taking place down there at Jones Park for where Cruise Central will be located. So it's been busy in the office.
Hey, listen, I think Centennial Park was awesome. Don't get me wrong. Really terrific. As they continue to make capital improvements there and whatever, it makes it a little bit difficult to have that as the central location, maybe more even to it than that. I love the notion of Jones Park being headquarters because, if we're going to showcase a part of coastal Mississippi that we really are very proud of, that's a wonderful sort of central location to be able to do that. And then, of course, you got the parking pavilion there, and the aquarium will benefit from that greatly. And it's beautiful. It's just beautiful to be there. I'm excited about that.
We are too. And we're looking forward to it. And the city of Gulfport has been very helpful in us making this move to Jones Park. And we're looking forward to working with them. And we think it's going to be great for our cruisers, our visitors, everybody that's going to be associated with Cruisin the Coast in 2025 and beyond. So we're looking forward to that move to Jones Park.
Sometimes, when you do this 29th, think about that for a second, 29. That's right. Amazing. Through a lot of trials and tribulations along the way, sometimes events begin to lose some of their luster, but this one doesn't lose luster. It just continues to get stronger. The word of mouth continues to be significant. The amount of people who come back year after year. Even last year, I learned that when we had the SuperTalk live remote at Town Green, that some people literally have decided to move here based on their Cruisin the Coast experience, or some have bought second homes here. Man, what a terrific testament. The economic impact is somewhere between 30 and 40 million. It may be even greater than that now. It's amazing what this event has done, and there is no sign of it petering out, is there?
None whatsoever. I went to Tennessee, like I say, last week. Had my cruising stuff on, wearing the cruising shirt, and people were stopping me, asking questions about cruising and how much they love it. It was the Pigeon Forge rod run up there in Tennessee that we went to, and people down up in Tennessee and people who were visiting Tennessee were telling us about it. How much they've enjoyed coming down for Cruising the Coast, and that they're coming back this year, and they come back every year. And questions about where's Cruise Central going to be located and all of that, and explain to them where it's going to be. And I think they're really excited about the new move of Cruise Central to Jones Park. So it's the word of mouth, like you say, is out there, and we're just here to let folks have a good time once they get here. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, and this is a unique place as it relates to our Cruising the Coast and why it's different than some of the others. We'll talk about that after we come back from break. But speaking of Pigeon Forge, I love that part of the country. I love to visit there. We love to take our family to, and now our grandkids, to Dollywood, and just enjoy the Smoky Mountains. As crowded as it is, there's still something wonderful about it that puts us in touch with America's values, and I just love going there. Do you have the same sense when you're there?
Absolutely. That's the first time I've been there in probably 10 or 15 years. And like you say, there was a lot of traffic there, but it was a special event that was going on. Pigeon Forge rod run is basically something like cruising, where you have hot rods from all over that come to this event. It's one of the largest in Tennessee in that area. But yeah, it's great. And I love that area, and get away from the humidity a little bit from down here on the coast.
No doubt. And my wife Ann and I were just talking recently about needing to bring all of our families up there and spend some time, just get a cabin out in the middle of nowhere and drive around and take it all in, and take the grandkids back to Dollywood. I can't wait to do that. Okay, see you after this break with Rob Sigler. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. We're visiting with Rob Sigler, who is with Cruisin the Coast. He's also a journalist. I won't say farmer, because he still writes. And he is, he's been in places like Picayune and Meridian and Laurel and Oxford and Vicksburg. He loves this state and has a good sense of what makes it tick. When we went to break, they were talking about the uniqueness of cruising. He had gone to an event in Pigeon Forge, and people just knew and loved Cruising the Coast. They loved connecting with Rob. And I'm not surprised to hear that. I mean, you could go anywhere in America probably wearing that at a similar event and find so many others that love being here. This is unique because, as I've said on the show so many times, and as you and Woody have hammered home, a lot of cruising events, it's a static event. It's at a single place. People come in and ooh and ah of the cars, etc. But our Cruising the Coast is one of the few that really not just give the ability to cruise, but literally is defined by cruising from one city to the next, involving all coastal communities. That's a big part of what makes this so special. But this is a cruising event where you actually cruise, and you do so on one of the most unique highways in America. There's only one other place kind of like this, where you get to ride down the beach with live oak lined beaches, and it's somewhere on a highway in South Carolina somewhere. But this is the unique place, and people who come here and drive it, they love it, and it makes them want to come back over and over again. It is a beautiful, polished diamond we have here, isn't it, Rob?
Absolutely. People love Cruising the Coast, and they love the beach. They love being able to drive from one community to the next. I mean, Ocean Springs, Bay St. Louis, the people, what I've heard over the years, and what I even heard up in Tennessee, was those are their two favorite places to go to, and they love to commute to get to those two places. Cruising the Coast is so popular that right now we're in the midst of a contest for Cruising the Coast as being the best car show in America. USA Today has got a contest going on. You can go to our Facebook page and vote for Cruising the Coast. Right now, we are the number one, leading the pack, so to speak, as far as car shows are concerned. We're competition with Hot August Nights, if people are familiar with it, out there in Nevada, and also the Triple Crown of Rotting up in Tennessee, and so we're right now number one. and people can go to our Facebook page and vote for us. And it's evident that people still love Cruising the Coast after 29 years because they're still coming back year after year after year. Whenever I answer this phone, Ricky, people will call and they say the first thing out of the mouth is, "We've been coming to Cruising the Coast since whatever year, 2003, 2008." And that's what they start off the conversation with. And they always want to know when's the schedule going to come out for this coming year? When's it going to be updated? They want to know if the certain vendors are going to be coming back to the swap meet. So people put that on their calendar year after year after year, that they know that they're going to be on the Mississippi Gulf Coast in October. And so it's tremendous. I talked to a lot of vendors up there in Pigeon Forge. A lot of them are coming back again this year. And, they spend a lot of money with us down here on the coast as well when they go to the swap meet and set up their items that they're selling or making and that kind of thing. So a lot of car parts and that kind of stuff out there at the swap meet every year.
Yeah, when I'm talking to people who were around in the early days of Cruising Coast, like Pete Vicari, for example, from Vicari Auctions,
Yep.
and John Ferrucci, who incidentally you probably well know is retiring from Silver Slipper. But they talk about those early inspirations of hot August nights. It's so interesting. Again, this is 29 years. That's pretty amazing. But hot August nights, for us to be competing against it year in and year out, especially as it relates to the USA Today, and to remember that it was kind of the inspiration for Cruising the Coast. Pretty neat, isn't it?
It's very neat. Hot August nights is still chugging along. That's how Cruising the Coast kind of evolved from Hot August nights. The organizers for Cruising the Coast wanted to do a similar event, and they kind of patterned Cruising the Coast after Hot August nights. Hot August nights does have a cutoff limit for their number of vehicles they register. We don't. We will register as many people that want to come down to our beautiful Mississippi Gulf Coast and register that 1989 or older vehicle, hot rod, that they love. So to be compared with Hot August nights is certainly an honor, and people love both of those events a lot. So,
hey, listen, I shared on the show, I guess, let me think, it was last Thursday, a story from SuperTalk Mississippi News. They do such a good job, incidentally. That team is doing a great job of covering the big stories across Mississippi. But one of the lead stories last week was coastal Mississippi named one of the best golf destinations in America. Yeah, that was USA Today as well. But it's good to get that distinction because, look, there is a lot of competition in that space. You think about it, up the East Coast and all over Florida. And, I mean, everybody's got a big play that they're trying to play. But you think about our golf courses being designed by people like, Arnold Palmer and Tom Fazio and Jack Nicklaus. Man, we got some stuff going on here, don't we?
We certainly do. And, it's kind of like you say, a hidden gem. When I go up to certain areas around the country and talk to other people, they're like, wait, I talked to a guy in Tennessee, didn't know that there was a Gulf Coast on Mississippi. He's like, y'all have a beach? I was like, yeah, we got a beach and it's beautiful, and showed him pictures of what the Gulf Coast looks like. And, it's a hidden gem, Ricky. And I think we're doing a good job at promoting our area of Mississippi and the United States. And people keep coming back for one reason or another. And a lot of them are staying here. Like you say, they buy a second home or they retire here because they love it so much. So there's some good stuff happening on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. And I think the word has definitely gotten out. We've got people, I meant to tell you this, we've got people from New Zealand coming for the first time to Cruising the Coast, and they're bringing 2 vehicles with them to cruise on Highway 90. Last year we had some folks from Australia that came. We also have some people from Hawaii who are coming this year to Cruising the Coast. So the word has gotten out about our beautiful Mississippi Gulf Coast, and they love the weather in October, and they love cruising the Highway 90 and enjoying everything that the Mississippi Gulf Coast has to offer.
Listen, I've been writing. I don't know if you've been reading what I've been writing about us needing to form a Coastal Mississippi Economic Development Alliance. I don't think I think the work of the 3 coastal economic development organizations is terrific, and they're on the show a lot, and they have very important work that each of them do. So this is not a slight to any of them. It's just that if you were to come into coastal Mississippi, there's not a single point of contact on the big stuff. And I think we should be focused on bringing the 3 together, the 3 economic development groups together within some new organization that represents us to aggressively go out and seek the big projects. It may mean that we have to build mega sites as they've done up in the Golden Triangle, but I've talked a lot about that. When you talk about, living here and how wonderful that is, one of the things that I detailed in my last column is how many jobs are focused in areas that I think kind of make us vulnerable. I made the point that we're very casino and government heavy in our economy. So the whims of government could affect us. It's all going in our favor currently. Casinos, we're a regional destination. I think we're doing extremely well considering where we are. We're a $1.6 billion market. One of the things I push out there is that we should be focused on how do we become a $2 billion market. So as there's proliferation across the United States, as sports betting especially becomes kind of a thing, especially for younger people who may not necessarily want to go pull a slot machine, we've got to make sure we got all the tools in our tool basket. But I was detailing the number of jobs that are focused, and like total number of jobs that are directly or indirectly impacted by gaming or government is over 85,000 jobs in coastal Mississippi. That's a big number. And the other thing that I pointed out, and just to kind of build off something you said, the quality of living here is incredible. And you think about military retirement, how many people from the military end up retiring here? I talk to people all the time that came through CB base or through Keesler Air Force Base and decided to stay here. I talked to doctors that decided to stay here. I talked to people who come through the CBs who decide to stay here, and they're from all over the country. Instead of going home, they decide to stay here because there's a wonderful quality of life. One of the things that I'm pressing us to think about is we got to turn. It's the 20th anniversary of Katrina. We got to turn the corner from being a survivor and put Katrina in the rearview mirror. Because here's the reality. If you look at something I posted, I'm sure you saw it. It shows where hurricanes have hit all along the Gulf Coast, all across Florida, and then up the East Coast. You have development happening in all these other communities, but for some reason we tend to use the excuse because of hurricanes, we can't get this or that. I don't think we should think that way. And so I think if we had a group that was focused just on promoting this region and then working with each of the 3 or maybe even the 6 coast counties to build a mega site, sort of like they've done in places like the Golden Triangle, we could really, really make a difference. Listen, we're at the end of this segment. When we come back on the other side, we'll kind of close it all out with our friend Rob Sigler. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. If there's a theme on this show, it's about gently raising the bar. We want to raise the bar. That's what I want to do. I'm not interested in having a show in retirement that just takes my time. If I can't make a difference, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to create conversations in the community around ways to raise the bar. And hopefully, that makes a difference. And anyway, Rob, when we went to break, I was talking about this sort of regional economic development group that we don't now have that I think we need in order to go get some big stuff. Any observation about that before I shift gears?
Yeah, I think you're right on target with when you create a committee or an organization that can do those types of things to bring more economic development within our Gulf Coast. And like you say, the 6 coastal counties, it doesn't necessarily have to be right on in the heart of Harrison County. I mean, I think a mega site would be great in a rural area such as, Stone or George or Pearl River County. And I know Pearl River County pretty well, and they're trying to get those types of developments in their area. They want to get a Continental Tire or something like that. And they're primed for that location with being I-59 running right through from the Slidell area all the way up to Hattiesburg. So developing some sort of committee that could do that type of thing to bring development and economic impacts to those areas would be great, in my opinion.
Well, the way I refer to it in the column that I wrote, and I've written, if people can go to supertalk.fm and just click on opinions, and you'll see my byline and the last 3 columns that I've written on this subject. I think they're important, and they build on my experience having been here for a long time, having worked with the governor after Hurricane Katrina to rebuild this area. And, my perspective, I think, is strong. I did a tremendous amount of research, incidentally, before I wrote what I wrote. And I think I'm pretty close. I referred to, if you're sort of coming in from the outside, since you don't have a single point of contact in coastal Mississippi, if you wanted one, it would be hard. So what you end up having to do is deal with what I call the jigsaw puzzle. So the ports are separate, the airports are separate, and there are multiple ones of those. And the economic development organizations are separate. What we need is a single point of contact for the big projects. We're not talking about taking anything away from anybody. What we're saying is that the skill sets that exist in each of our coastal economic development organizations, and maybe even all 6 coast counties, can come together and have their skill sets magnified by working together on the big stuff, whether it's issuing bonds to build a mega site or using Gulf Coast restoration funds, which I think that's what we should do, actually, is use Gulf Coast restoration funds to do stuff like this. And go out and build something that is significant like they've done in the Golden Triangle and attract the big opportunities. And with what President Trump's doing, people can have all kinds of concerns and worry and whatever, but at the end of the day, he's staying the course. And we're going to see advanced manufacturing coming into America, and we need to have our play on that because we need to diversify our economy. We got too many eggs in government and casinos. We need to think about what that next big thing is going to be. I'm just telling you. We need to do that. And on the surface of this, at the very high level, that's what we need to do for sure. So anyway, we'll shift gears, Rob. I always enjoy spending time with you. As you look across America today, it's sad what's happening in the areas of newspapers. I had the opportunity to visit with some former employees of the Sun Herald. We took a picture on the steps of the Sun Herald building. Roland was there. So many people were there. The love we have for each other is so significant, especially after going through Katrina. But that building for us, the Sun Herald building, was what we referred to as Camp Hope after Katrina. And, they haven't been in that for a while now. They've been printing in Jackson for some time and have not been in that building the building's been on the market for a long time. It was finally purchased and it's going to be raised. And I mentioned to the group that I feel sorry for the people who are going to take it down because Roland built it with Fred Wagner it was built a year after Katrina. Camille, think about that for a minute. It was it was like a design build that they did, and they built it out of concrete, and it's not going to be easy to take down. I'm telling you, man, that building is going to fight wanting to come down. It's sad that it's coming down, but as I often say, buildings don't make, a memory like the Sun Herald. The people do, and it was great to have the people come back together again. This is one of many, printing facilities like it across America that no longer exists. It's just the reality of the digital tsunami, sadly, isn't it?
It absolutely is, Ricky. I miss the newspaper days at times, but then again, I don't miss the newspaper days at times. I saw on Facebook, y'all's event that was held at the Sun Herald building, and then it brought back a lot of memories looking through those faces and seeing Mr. Weeks there and you and John Fitzhugh and Tim Isbell and on and on and on. So the Sun Herald was a competitor for me back in the day when I was in Picayune as a sports guy. But Tim and Doug Barber and all those guys always kind of took me on as one of their guys. We didn't treat each other as competitors. We treated each other as, getting the job done for our respective news outlets. And just to see y'all get together one last time there in front of the building and take that picture, it saddened me. But at the same time, I'm glad y'all got to do it. And it was great to see some of those faces. And the Sun Herald will always have a special place in my heart. Even though I never worked there, it was one of those places that I always admired from afar.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm going to talk about it even more. It touched me. It touched me a lot, actually. Yeah. It was so great to see everybody. Listen, God bless you, my friend.
God bless you too, Ricky. It's good seeing you. Y'all take care.
You bet. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.